Dharma Bites is brought to you by Free Buddhist Audio, the Dharma for your life. Our work is funded entirely by donations from our generous listeners. If you would like to help us keep this free, make a contribution at freebuddhistaudio.com/donate. Thank you, and happy listening.
I'm going to start with a quote from Sangharakshita, which I think will kind of help to set the scene a little bit here. So he says, given that almost everyone's life includes an economic dimension, work and career need to be integrated into life as a Buddhist. Most of us spend the majority of their waking lives at work. So it's important to assess how our work affects our mind and our heart. How can work become meaningful? How can it be a support, not a hindrance to spiritual practice, a place to deepen our awareness and kindness? As Dharmashalan was saying, we're on to livelihood, and it's the fifth limb of the Noble Eightfold Path. Because this is the first talk, I'm going to kind of do a little bit of an introduction, but because I knew that people would probably be interested to hear a few stories as well, hopefully woven a few things about my own life and practice in there as well. So as well as being the fifth limb of the Eightfold Path, Buddhism likes its numbers and its little groupings of things. So there is also the threefold path, so the threefold path of ethics, meditation, and wisdom. And perfect livelihood fits within the ethics area, along with perfect action and perfect speech, which I believe are the last two sections that have been covered as we've moved up to this one now. So I'm going to talk a little bit about perfect livelihood. So this is Samma Ajiva in the ancient language of Buddhism. So Samma Ajiva, and I'm going to try, if I've got the time, to cover two sort of themes within it. So I'm going to look at Samma first. So this idea of right or perfect and what that means when we're kind of comparing it to wrong livelihood, or if we can actually separate that out. And I'm going to look back to the Buddha for that, but I'm also going to try and draw out what that means to us living here in the 21st century in the UK. And then I'm also going to try, if I've got the time to manage to fit that in as well, to talk about Ajiva. So Ajiva being the livelihood bit of it and the interconnectedness of all our lives and the way that we're kind of supported and sustained by the networks around us. So I want to kind of pull out that livelihood isn't just, I think kind of as Dharmashalan was saying, isn't just about what we're doing in our work. It's what we're doing in the rest of our lives. Yeah, so it's all of that. So as such, for some reason, I entitled the talk Tinker, Tailor, Soldier, Spy. Partly because Maitrisara said she wanted a catchy title for it. And I thought, well, there you go. That's four different careers. And I thought, well, actually, tinker, tailor, soldier, spy, they're all quite different ways of operating in the world, aren't they? And just to be clear to you all, as I start here, I'm none of those things. Being a spy might, well, I wouldn't tell you if I was, would I? But yeah, so it's the title of the book by John le Carré, and also a film with Colin Firth and Gary Oldman and various others. But it's also based upon a rhyme which I remember quite a lot from my childhood, which was tinker, tailor, soldier, sailor, rich man, poor man, beggar and thief. And my mum used to try to make us eat prunes and custard. And the way that she'd get us to eat prunes and custard was that prunes would all be in the bowl with the custard over them. And of course, some of them would have the stones in them. And so you'd line the stones up on your bowl after you'd had it. And you would go tinker, tailor, soldier, sailor, rich man. And however many you'd got, that was what your role in life was going to be. And I just find that really interesting as a starting point for a talk, because even at that young age, I was kind of making judgments in my head about, well, did I want to be a tinker? What did that mean? Did I want to be a soldier? Well, definitely rich, well, that would probably, where would you put yourself? Would you want 5 stones every time?
We hope you enjoyed today's Dharma Bite. Please help us keep this free. Make a contribution at freebuddhistaudio.com/donate. And thank you.